Breaking news! The Denver Broncos are counting down the hours until the 2025 draft. Sean Payton has been looking very calm and confident. We know it won't be easy to make it to the playoffs or the Super Bowl, but I believe we'll lift the trophy this year. We have the capacity to do it. If you agree with me, hit that like button hard and write something like this: Go Broncos! I believe in the Super Bowl. Now, let's talk about Brandon Aiyuk and Von Miller. Buckle up, because we have a lot to unpack, and this isn't just a hot take. This is what's really being said behind the scenes at the Broncos. First, let's address the elephant in the room, Brandon Aiyuk. Yes, there's been chatter out there about the 49ers potentially being open to dealing him. And yes, we've seen fans throw his name around, linking him to Denver. But when you dig into the reality of this situation, the odds of Brandon Aiyuk putting on a Broncos jersey are slim to none. Despite recent rumors, Aiyuk just signed a contract extension, not exactly the sign of a player a team is desperate to move. And on top of that, he's coming off a brutal injury, ACL and MCL. This isn't a guy you take a big swing on unless you're desperate for wide receiver help and think you can buy low. Denver? Not desperate, and not interested in overpaying either. Then there's the fit. Would Aiyuk even mesh with Sean Payton's locker room? The answer seems to be a hard no. Not every talented player fits every system, and with the kind of contract Aiyuk is carrying, plus the injury concerns, it's no surprise the likelihood of a trade to Denver is being pegged as very, very low. And let's be honest, do the Broncos really want to spend precious draft capital and cap space on a risk like that when there are other areas of greater need? Probably not. Now let's flip the page and talk about a different kind of story, the possible return of Von Miller. Broncos legend, Super Bowl MVP, the heart and soul of the defense during one of the franchise's best eras. Is he coming back for a storybook ending? That's a storyline that pulls at every fan's heartstrings. But when we step out of the nostalgia, the question becomes, can Von still play at a level that warrants a spot on a competitive roster? The verdict, unlikely. The last 2 seasons haven't been kind to Miller. Injuries, lack of production, and age are all catching up. And when you consider Denver's current edge rusher depth, including rising talent like Jonah Ellis, it becomes hard to justify bringing in a veteran who would likely play only a limited role. Sure, he could be a locker room presence, a mentor, maybe a situational pass rusher if someone goes down. But do you really want to take snaps away from a young player with upside just to let a legend have one more ride? The idea is sentimental, but the execution might do more harm than good for the team's development. Let's talk draft, because fans are buzzing about who Denver might target, especially when it comes to running backs and interior defense. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss is one name that's generating legit interest. He's a force on the defensive line and could be a major boost to Denver's interior if they don't land one of their preferred skill guys early in the draft. Another name that popped up? Cam Skattebo. Now this is where things get interesting. The vibe on Skattebo isn't exactly glowing. He's been a beast in college, but there's real doubt about whether his game will translate to the NFL. The kind of guy who might go down as a college legend but not make that next leap. A tough pill to swallow, but when it comes to the draft, honesty matters more than hype. So how many running backs should Denver actually take? 1, max 2 if they're feeling bold. Remember, they drafted Audric Estime just last year. Are we really ready to give up on him already? Probably not. Between Estime, Tyler Batty, Blake Watson, and Jaleel McLaughlin, there's already a crowded backfield. Add one more name to the mix, sure, but bringing in 2 rookies might just clog the pipeline and force out guys who could still make an impact. And for those of you eyeing names like Trevor Etienne or Montrell Johnson Jr., the message from the fan mailbag is clear. Denver needs to secure their running back early. Don't wait until day 3 and cross your fingers. If you're still looking for a back after the first 2 days of the draft, something went wrong. You want a playmaker in the backfield? Then act like it when it counts. We even got some love for LaQuint Allen as a late-round sleeper, although there's not a ton of info circulating on him just yet. That's one for the deep-dive scouts to watch as we get closer to the draft. Finally, for those dreaming big, like bringing in Jamar Chase or Saquon Barkley, the message is loud and clear. No quarterbacks in this fantasy. We all know that's the obvious cheat code. But if you could inject one game-changing talent into Denver's roster, Jamar Chase might be the ultimate vibe. So now it's over to you, Broncos country. Would you welcome Von Miller back for one last ride? Are you all in on taking a running back early? And is there any chance Brandon Aiyuk would be worth the risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to know what you think about where this team is heading. Let's keep this rolling, because we're just scratching the surface of what Broncos fans are debating right now. And next up, we need to talk more about that running back situation and what it really means for Denver's 2025 outlook. The question came up, if the Broncos do address the RB position, what kind of record can fans realistically expect next season? Let's say they land someone like Caleb Johnson or Marion Hampton. Solid prospects. Not necessarily headline makers, but reliable backs who could immediately step into a rotation and make a difference. Even with that addition, the projection sits around 10-7. That might not blow people away, especially considering the frustrations of last season, but it's a realistic bump, especially when you consider how competitive the AFC is going to be. Look around. The Raiders finally hired a legit head coach. That might not seem like a big deal, but they're not the pushover they've been in past years. The Chiefs? Still the Chiefs. And now the Chargers are entering year 2 under Jim Harbaugh, a coach who's going to demand more discipline and toughness. They swept Denver last season, and there's no reason to think they won't be improved in 2025. So, if you're expecting a 12-5 or 13-4 type of season, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. A 10-7 finish isn't just a number, it's an indication that the team is moving in the right direction. It means they're competitive, in the playoff hunt, and building something sustainable. But that doesn't happen by accident. It requires hitting on draft picks, staying healthy, and Sean Payton continuing to implement his system with the kind of discipline and consistency he's known for. And speaking of Payton, there's been some debate over what kind of player fits in his locker room, and that brings us right back to the Brandon Aiyuk conversation. Talent is one thing, culture is another. Payton is building a team that plays his way, with his tone, and that's why you haven't seen Denver splashing cash on high-profile, high-risk receivers. It's also why names like Cooper Kupp got tossed around by fans but never really materialized into anything serious. There's a method to the silence, and if you're looking for fireworks, they're probably going to come from the draft, not a blockbuster trade. But if we're really dreaming, if Broncos fans could pluck any player out of the league and drop him into Dove Valley, the names that came up say a lot. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, all elite, all playmakers, all the kind of guys who would immediately change how defenses line up against Denver. And sure, this is all hypothetical, but it tells you something important. Broncos fans know the offense needs that one special piece. Someone who can change the game in a moment. And while we're probably not getting Jefferson or Chase anytime soon, it emphasizes how crucial the draft will be to identifying those future stars. Let's circle back to a few more draft names that came up, Trenton Henderson and Cam Skattebo. Henderson's a bit more under the radar, but there's intrigue there. Meanwhile, Skattebo's evaluation continues to divide opinion. So that's where things stand right now. We're on the edge of an offseason that could define the next 5 years of Broncos football. Will they take a running back early? Will a guy like Jonah Ellis emerge as a defensive cornerstone? Could Von Miller find his way home one last time, even if just for a leadership role? These aren't just offseason hypotheticals, they're the building blocks of the next chapter for Denver. And now it's your turn. What's the move you think Denver has to make? Should they pass on big names like Aiyuk and build through the draft? Is Von Miller's return something you'd want, or is it time to fully move forward? Drop your takes in the comments, because Broncos country always has something to say, and this is where the real conversation begins.